Hey guys, Marcus Melnick here with Firearm Mentor. Hope you're enjoying my YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. These little things are free to you and really help the channel. I appreciate your support. Enjoy. Thank you.
The views expressed are not those of local community broadcasting, WYML LP, or its management, volunteers, or underwriters. Welcome to the Personal Safety Show. This is Marcus Melnick from Stress to Logic and Firearm Mentor, where we train people to be ready, remain safe, stay sharp, and train for the moment that matters. And on the line, I've got Lindsay Henriquez. Henriquez or Henriquez? No, it's Henriquez, if I pronounce it correct.
Henriquez, yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. And she works for the law offices of Michael Doman. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Okay, hey, guess what? I'm batting 1,000 today. We met at a Chamber of Commerce event, and she got up, and the law firm that she works with specializes in divorce. And she says, oh, if you need order of protection, a restraining order, she went on a little bit, and I was like, ding, ding, ding. Ooh, there's a lot of people out there that don't know the difference between these two pieces of paper, basically, or judicial orders. And there is an affect on people who own firearms. So I figured I would invite her onto the show, and she's very graciously here. Lindsay, thank you very much for appearing, and welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much, Marcus. Thank you for having us.
Wonderful. Can you tell everyone, what's your personal origin story? How'd you get to be where you are today?
Yeah, so I grew up in Chicago and went to college. From college, I knew that I wanted to become an attorney, but I wasn't 100%, so I decided to get into the field of law and try it out myself after college. I first started off in personal injury, and I realized that that wasn't necessarily my cup of tea. So not wanting to give up on, my ambition of becoming an attorney, I decided to try family law, which is where I've been working for in the past 3 years. I've been working for the specific firm, the law office of Michael Doman. 3 years later, I am right now trying to get into law school and, working full-time for, like you said, in the firm that focuses in divorce, orders of protections, and restraining orders.
Awesome. When you said family law, do you have an interest in other areas of family law?
In this firm, we usually cover everything in family law, and that goes beyond just divorce and orders of protections and the restraining orders. We also do custody cases and child support allocations, so we focus everything that goes into the realm of family law.
Okay, cool. So you have a very good exposure to that type of thing.
Yes.
Where'd you go to college?
I went to Loyola University here in downtown Chicago.
What? You went to Lewis Towers?
Yes. I was in the Quinlan School of Business.
Nice. I also went to Loyola. I grew up in Skokie, so me not wanting to go downtown, I would drive to the Lakeshore campus, and they had, I don't know if they had it when you were there, but they had a shuttle bus. And my major was criminal justice. It was downtown. And so that way, if I got out of a test early, I'd hop on the L and go back to the other campus to get my car. But
yeah, that's the nice thing about it.
I'm going to say something and your jaw might drop. I'm really old. So when I went there to park for a class, it was $8. Probably was like 35 or 50 today. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was, and I never wanted to pay the $8, but that's when money was a little different than it is now. So I'm glad you're a Rambler. I'm a Rambler. I have multiple degrees from Loyola, so that's terrific. So you're a paralegal, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Can you explain, because a lot of people don't know what a paralegal is. What do you do?
Paralegal is pretty much a person who helps the attorney with ministerial things in the office. And, we can't represent people in the court of law because we're not yet attorneys, but we help with filing motions and reserving court dates and keeping everything in order in the office in regards to speaking with clients and getting further information that might be needed by the attorney. A part of this is the advertising and trying to get new clients as well for the firm.
So what you're saying is you do all the work. You didn't say that. I said it. I'm kidding. I'm joking.
I don't do all of the work by any means, but I do definitely help the attorney make his life a little easier.
Of course, you're the background support for the attorney for preparation. I totally understand that, and I was only teasing you.
No, yeah.
What's the difference between a paralegal and a legal assistant?
A paralegal has more of there's a title to it because there's some classes that's done in order to get your license as a paralegal. But I would think that the work is very similar to what a paralegal does, except paralegal just has a little bit more expertise in the area of law that they're working in.
Okay, very good, very good. I didn't know that. And as a well-rounded personal safety specialist, and I teach in a variety of topics, not just firearms, but de-escalation, active shooter survival, a bunch of other things relating around human stress. I truly believe in a toolbox full of tools for people to use in life. And that's in every part of life, whether it is personal relationships, marriage, divorce, law. And while my specialty is self-defense law, look, I get it. Firearms aren't for everyone. So there's other tools that people can use to stay safe, such as orders of protection and restraining orders, which I believe are relatively common in some divorce cases. Can you go in and tell us the difference between an OOP or an order of protection and a restraining order? Lindsay, can you explain the difference between an order of protection and a restraining order?
Yeah, so essentially orders of protection and restraining orders are interchangeable. Now, they are initiated in situations involving domestic violence, harassment, sexual assault, with the goal of protecting individuals from further physical or emotional harm.
Okay.
Now, there is a stalking no contact order, which is more for harassment and stalking situations. There's two different kinds of orders we can get. We can get orders of protection, which are also known as restraining orders, and then there are stalking no contact orders as well.
Okay, very good, very good. What am I not asking you about this, about both of them?
I think I clarified what constitutes an order of protection and what constitutes a stalking no contact order. And then we also have the emergency orders of protection.
With harassment and stalking, there's still an intimate relationship. It's just there's no violence. It's just fear of violence. Would that be correct?
Yeah, and I think the main difference to remember with the restraining orders and with the orders of protection are the physical abuse that goes into it. So the orders of protection are more for when there's already been an instance of physical abuse and the party is afraid of that reoccurring again, whereas a restraining order is more of the harassment spectrum of, in the harassment spectrum of stalking and or just civil disputes.
So let me give you an example and see where this would lie. If there is a couple and they're decoupling, or whatever the right word is today, and one makes a verbal comment, like a veiled threat, would that result potentially in a restraining order or order of protection? No physical violence occurred.
A restraining order.
Okay.
That would be more of a restraining order.
Okay, cool. Thank you for explaining that to me. I didn't realize that. And I know with restraining orders or orders of protection, once that happens, if an individual is a gun owner or has a firearm owner identification card, a notification is placed to the state and the people have to dispose of their firearms, either transferring to another individual, turning them into law enforcement. And so that's always been my fear. I'm a nice guy. I don't have any reason for someone to give me an order of protection or restraining order. It's just not the way I roll, as they say. Are there retaliatory orders of protection that are filed against people with false accusations?
So retaliatory, we haven't seen the attorney that works in this firm, and he's been an attorney for 35 years. He hasn't necessarily seen a retaliatory order filed against someone. What he has seen, though, is, obviously people who are trying to defend the order of protection and not trying to get it granted. So I guess the answer here is there's not really a retaliatory order that's filed. It's more so somebody who just goes and tries to defend themselves as to why the order should not be granted.
Okay, got it. And what is an emergency order of protection?
So an emergency order of protection is where there was an instance of physical harm and someone is afraid to, for that happening again. So they go to the court, they file their emergency order of protection, get it granted, and from there, the emergency order is granted for 21 days. And during that 21-day period, they have time to serve the defendant. Once the defendant is served 21 days after the initial filing, then the court holds a hearing where it pretty much determines whether it was a truthful and, it was an order of protection that needs to be granted to protect the victim. And if it is granted, then it's usually good for 2 years.
Ah, okay. I didn't know that. And
Yeah.
how effective do you find violations of these from time to time?
Yeah, there could be a violation, but usually people try not to violate orders of protection because, that just means that there's more sanctions by the law and it could potentially lead to fines and or imprisonment. So usually people try not to break law-abiding citizens, at least,
Of course.
try not to try not to break the orders of protection.
Okay. So do people typically who file an order of protection, do they typically contact or give an order to their employer?
Yeah, I mean, it's not something that's necessarily required by the law, but it is recommended in order to keep, workplace safety. And if you want your employers to know, just to make sure that the person who the order of protection is put against, that they don't come into your workplace and, potentially harm the victim. So it's not required by the law, but it is recommended, yes.
Same question for people that have children in schools. Are the schools provided these?
Yes, of course. Usually the orders of protection, if they're granted between the victim and there's also minor children involved, it is completely recommended to give a copy to the school so that they know not to hand the child off to the person that the order of protection is against.
What I hear you saying is it's incumbent upon the victim to provide that. There's not a legal mechanism to say, oh, well, the kids go to, I don't know, Smith School, so Smith School is going to get a service. So it's up to the victim. Is that correct?
Essentially, yes. For most cases, it is up to the victim, and it is the victim's job to give the school or their employer a copy of the orders of protection that are in place.
Okay. What happens to and I'm making air quotes with my fingers, an alleged victim who files either one of these, but does so in a manner that is not truthful? Like, I'll get you, ha 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 ha. And obviously I'm being kind of silly when I say that, but is there ever a consequence for someone who knowingly and wantonly files this against someone for spite?
So, sorry, Marcus, are you asking if there's, can you repeat your question one more
Sure.
time?
If there is say a disgruntled spouse or soon-to-be ex-spouse, whatever you want to call it, and they just really want to turn the screws to the other party, is there a consequence if someone went to court and lied, basically, other than contempt of, or whatever it is? I forgot the term. You'll know it. Is there a consequence of, look, you filed this order of protection based upon nothing, we granted it, and this other guy or girl, now they have a ton of other consequences. They have legal consequences, work, employment, that type of thing. Is there a consequence for a person acting in bad faith?
So someone who wrongfully files an order of protection?
Correct.
Yes. Orders of protection are filed under penalties of perjury, meaning if anything in there is a false statement, it's a lie, and, whether it gets granted or not, it is signed under penalties of perjury, which can essentially lead to sanctions. that could lead to like fines or reimbursing the other person for attorney's fees. So it's not recommended in any way, shape, or form to falsely write allegations about a situation or a person that you're trying to file an order against, because it can lead to sanctions and and issues with the law. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Very good. I really appreciate your insight into this. None of this is in my level of experience, and I'm divorced and remarried. It was very, very easy peasy. We basically negotiated ourselves, and then
thankfully, because sometimes it could get very convoluted with the parties arguing back and forth.
Well, we argued, but that's not the right word. We negotiated is a better way to say it, and just the way that I did it was, obviously there's deep emotions on every site, and when we are in an emotional mindset, we don't think straight. So we did our negotiations via email, so that and this is my idea, so that both parties could initially get a demand or a request, whatever you want to call it, stew on it, get upset, but not respond until the next day when, okay, well, maybe that was a reasonable request. And from the time that we filed to the time that we were done was 5 weeks.
Yeah, that's not a long time.
No.
Usually some of these cases take 5 months or 1 year.
Years.
Yeah.
Right. I know people that it's taken years. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know much about family law other than the funny thing is I didn't even go to court. We did everything kind of, we had her attorney go to court, filed it, and that was it. It was done. It was easy. What am I not asking you? What sort of things can people do in a divorce situation or a conflict situation that will keep them safe from a legal perspective?
I think the best piece of advice is seek an attorney. Obviously, attorneys know the law better than just a regular abiding citizen. And yeah, you can do your research online, but there's nothing like actually getting advice and recommendation from an attorney, especially someone who's familiar with the law and has been practicing in that specific field for years. So I think that, if there's any doubt that someone has about whether what they're filling out is correct, or whether what they're filling out is something that, pertains to their situation, I think it's always safe to reach out to an attorney. And usually attorneys are pretty good about giving a free consultation initially, which is nice just because it gives you a little bit of a foundation to get to know the attorney, but also to ask whatever questions someone might have or any doubts that they might have. They can clarify it with the attorney during that initial consultation.
Fantastic. I'm actually going to get on my soapbox and expand on what you just said. When we're young, we think we know everything. And that's the truth. And then as we age, we realize, we really don't know everything. And sometimes we need help. And the internet can be your best friend, or it could be your worst enemy. Because anyone with a a keyboard, see, that's how old I am. Anyone with a keyboard can put anything they want online, and there's no vetting of it. So I'm going to draw a parallel here. There was a lot of controversy over the COVID vaccine. Don't get the jab, don't get the jab. And then it was all along political lines. And as you can imagine, in my industry, I'm surrounded by people who are conservative and politically. But I said to myself, I'm listening to them, and then I contacted my doctor. He's the expert. Do I get it or don't I get it? He said, get it. Okay. He's the expert. It's not one of my peers or colleagues that happens to have a similar hobby as mine, who maybe doesn't have the medical background. So it's
there's a reason he tells you, right, to do it or not to do it. So there's always an underlying reason that an expert's going to know that we don't. Right. And that's the other reason why I have a CPA do my taxes. Can I fill out a form? Sure. Can I fill it out correctly? Maybe. I don't know. And a lot of the sometimes I think it's easier to, from the get-go, get someone that can defend your case or,
Right.
solutionize it for you, rather than you doing it yourself, realizing halfway, man, I really messed this up. And, there's already been things filed with the courts. Now I have to find an attorney to fix it for me and, potentially go a couple steps back to reverse what I had written earlier or what I did earlier. So sometimes it's easier to just get an attorney from the start, or like you were saying, a CPA, whatever it might be, to get the job done for you and do it correctly from the start.
That's awesome. That's absolutely terrific. And I made that mistake when I was younger. I had a trademark, and I filed for the trademark twice. Did it wrong both times. And I was like, and that cost me a lot of money to do it on my own. It cost me less to hire an attorney. I hired an attorney. They took care of it. Done. Easy peasy. So.
But see, sometimes we all learn by our own mistakes, but take our advice and maybe just get someone to do it for you from the start, to make your life a little bit easier and to ensure that you're not making any mistakes.
Right. Because mistakes are costly. And
no, they are.
Money is limited.
Yeah.
So it's better to penny of prevention is better than $1 of cure.
I want my listeners to know that this is my dream, teaching people about safety. If it weren't for you, if it weren't for my listeners, I couldn't live my dream. So on behalf of my family and myself, I want to thank each and every one of you for allowing me to live my dream. And I also want to continue to live my dream, and I'm excited to continue to spread the word of safety. Recently, I began a new service as a conference keynote speaker. So if anyone would like for me to speak at future events, or if anyone knows of an introduction or would like to discuss how we can work with one another, I'd love to do just that. The keynote speaking website is www.stress2logic.com. That is STRESS, 2LOGIC.com. If you're aware of any conference speaking engagements where you'd like to have me speak, I'd love an introduction. You can always share my electronic business card, which is Marcus Melnick, MarcusMelnick.com. Now, back to the show.
What final thoughts can you offer about what you can do and how people can stay safe in a domestic situation that's ending?
Like when their orders of protection are expiring?
No, when they don't know what to do. Gosh, my husband and my wife, they're emotionally abusive, and I don't know what to do. What would you recommend?
I think that the best policy someone can go by is to, like I was saying earlier, speak to an attorney and try to really get someone that is knowledgeable about this to clarify any, misunderstandings you might have of the law and what may constitute an order of protection or a stalking no contact order. I can say if you have experienced any kind of physical abuse, or even if it's mental or emotional abuse, you can apply for an order of protection. Or if you feel like you're being stalked or harassed, whether it's in the workforce or by someone that in your personal life, definitely reach out to an attorney who can focus in on filing a restraining order for you, or not a restraining order, sorry, a stalking no contact order, and you can get that in place to really protect yourself against the person.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Can you share your contact information, location, website, social media, and how people can get in contact with either you or your office for any needs that they might have?
Yeah, so we are located in Northbrook in the greater Chicagoland area. We do focus on cases in Cook County, Lake County, DuPage, McHenry County. So if you live anywhere in Illinois, we pretty much can defend you in your divorce case or any restraining orders cases that you may have, or stalking no contact orders. Our phone number is 847-897-5288. We are available Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and we also have our email. you can email me at paralegal@Doman, D as in David, O as in Oscar, M as in Mary, A as in Apple, N as in Nancy, law.com. So paralegal@domanlaw.com. And our best callback number is 847-897-5288.
And your website is chicago-divorce.com.
Yes. So you guys can also search us there too. The attorney here has been an attorney for 35 years, so he specializes in this field of law. And if you guys have any questions, you can always contact us to get more information on whether you'd like to file a order of protection or stalking no contact order.
Wonderful. Lindsay, your expertise is extremely valuable. Thank you very much for appearing on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate talking to you, Marcus, and anytime you need me on the show again, I'll be more than willing and happy to be on your show.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcus.
The views expressed are not those of local community broadcasting, WYML LP, or its management, volunteers, or underwriters.